Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. We've been seeing a lot of miniature, small, portable lasers come to the market recently, and of course those companies have been reaching out to me, and I've been taking a look at them both from a beginner standpoint, is this a laser that might work well for people, and for those looking at portable lasers they might want to take to a craft fair. Well, Sculpfun just came out with another one. This is their C1. This is an open frame miniature laser, very lightweight and portable. We're going to take a look at this, see how it might work for those two scenarios. So if that's something you're interested in, want to find out more, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. So let's first go over some of the basic specs of this laser. It is an open framed gantry style laser, mostly built out of plastic, which keeps it very lightweight. The working area of this is 150 millimeters by 130 millimeters deep, or about 5.9 inches by 5.1. It is fairly lightweight, just a little over a kilogram or 2.2 pounds. And the laser module on it is a 3-watt fine spot focus. They do say that it goes down to a 0.04 millimeter focus size. We'll do some testing in a line interval of that to see how that goes. Up front, it does have some basic connections. We got our USB-C connection, as well as a power connection and our power button. It does have some basic stepper motors as well as limit switches, so the control on this should be able to use absolute coordinates, which I like, but you can also switch over into user position and such. Safety wise, it has a magnetic safety cover. This can pop on and off so that it does provide some protection. However, there may be some light leakage, so they also provide some safety goggles. These are just your generic green colored. They're not labeled with anything, but as I always recommend, get yourself a good quality pair of laser safety goggles that are properly rated and properly fit you as well. As far as power, they do provide a simple power brick. It's a 12 volt, 2000 milliamp, so roughly a 25-watt power supply. So this thing is not taking a lot of power, which is great. As well as they do include a USB-C to a standard USB cable. So if you have a newer laptop that doesn't have this style connector, you're gonna need to get an adapter or just a straight USB-C to USB-C data cable. As far as focus, they do include this little acrylic block. It's fairly thin. You set this underneath the module and drop it down. There's just a simple locking screw on the side of the laser, and that will set your focus on top of the material. They do also provide a small aluminum panel. This works as a good spoil board, so if you're engraving and it maybe goes outside the bounds, this will protect the surface that you're working on and keep it from burning. So it's nice that they include that as well. There's also a small set of tools. There's a set of hex keys as well as a small wrench. The wrench is going to allow you to make adjustments to the eccentric nuts to tighten up the wheels if they're a little loose. It can cause a little bit of rocking in the gantry, and you want to make sure those are just snug, whereas the Allen wrenches are there in case you need to make adjustments to any of the belts or tighten up any other screws on there. However, the assembly on this is very simple. You basically pull everything out of the box. You need to add the laser module onto the frame, connect that control cable on the back of the gantry to the laser module, then plug in your USB, plug in your power, and you're pretty much good to go. This machine is light burn and laser GRBL compatible, so if you want a free option, laser GRBL, you'll be able to work with that. But if you're an existing laser owner or you want something a little more mainstream and popular, light burn is available. You'll need the GRBL, the basic version of it, so it's $99 to purchase one time, and then that's perpetual license. But if you want updates after that, you'll need to pay $30 a year. I do recommend using Lightburn with most lasers. It works with 90% of lasers out there, especially in kind of the consumer to prosumer, small business type lasers. It's going to work well. So if you start with this one and move on, it's a great way to get into the hobby and not have to relearn the software on your next laser. Now, they do include a kind of a small manual, nothing more than what you need. It does talk a little bit about the machine specs, and also in there's a page on software for both Lightburn and Laser GRBL. There's no USB drive included with this, but they do have a QR code to their website where you can download the software. You may need to have some drivers with this. There's a CH340 drivers that may need to get installed with this first. I'll have a link down below if in case your computer doesn't detect them, you can use that. And then in Lightburn, you can hopefully auto detect, but you may have to manually set this up. Go into your device settings, add the laser, add it manually, pick GRBL, and then set up 150 by 130. And then I usually turn off auto home, and then you can name it your Sculpfun C1 laser. So it's fairly simple to get that set up in case Lightburn does not auto detect it. The other thing in the manual is a page on some kind of starting points for working with some materials. They list craft paper, plywood, solid wood, bamboo, cork leather, things like that. And so they do have the power and the speed settings. So you can use these as ballpark settings for that. But I'm gonna go through and show you a number of materials that I used and give you the speed and power settings so that it hopefully helps get you kick-started on that. If you're using Lightburn, you're gonna wanna get used to that material test tool to kind of dial in your engravings for your specific environment and your specific laser module. But these will give you a ballpark. So let's take a look at them. All right, so the very first thing I always run is a speed and power engraving test. And on this, I'm using some 3mm Baltic birch plywood. Various plywoods and solid woods are gonna be different, but this will give us a ballpark, and it's a material I tend to test on all my machines. So I did run it from 1,000 to 2,000 millimeters a minute and 10 to 100% power, and this was the gradient we got. Now there is kind of a little weird blip here where it kind of goes lighter than darker. Some of that is gonna be due to material, so it's best to run these a few times, make sure you've got stable material, and really kind of dial in your average from there. But we can see that we're getting fairly dark engravings down at the bottom, all the way up to the top. And so with this, we could kind of get a benchmark of where we wanna run at. And what I'm looking for in vector engravings, just like text or images, you're gonna just look for kind of the solid color you're looking for and maybe the depth. There is a little bit of depth down here at 1,000. So if you wanted to have kind of a recessed look, you could go with that, but it does add to some of the vaporization and markings on there. So for this, if I'm doing a photo engraving, so a raster type thing, I'm gonna look for more of a gradient. We want some whites down towards the low power on up to darks. And you want that to be kind of as wide as possible. You don't want it to step into darks too quickly or whites the other way. So in this one, I'm looking at around the 1,500 millimeters a minute range for doing some photorealistic engravings on there. And with that, we can use that as we're setting up our objects. So the first one I ran did go ahead and do this kind of steampunk frog toad. This was done at 1,500 millimeters a minute, 100% power, max power, because we did use a Jarvis dithering on this. And started out pretty high with a 0.08 line interval, which is a little more typical of your 10 watt diodes. As they get smaller, they tend to have a smaller focus size, but as you go into that smaller focus size, it's also gonna take more lines to do the same size. So I wanted to start there and see. There is just a little bit, and I don't think it's gonna show up on here, but there is just a little bit of lines that you can see, so we would wanna step that back a bit. But we probably don't need to go as far as the 0.04 line interval on this material. Natural fibers will have a tendency to just burn a little bit extra, so your spot size is gonna be where it focuses the energy, but it's gonna burn out a little bit from there. So we can kind of cheat a little bit and expand that on natural materials like this. But overall, really nice detail, nice contrast, looking great. However, this did take 44 minutes to finish this engrave. And this is about 2.5 inches by maybe 3 inches tall. So gives you maybe a slight idea of what its capabilities are, but also the time it's gonna take to engrave that. So always wanted to double down and double check things. So ran another image, and here we have kind of a shaded, this is kind of your 2.5D, gives it a little bit of a 3D look without being 3D. Again, 1,500 millimeters a minute, 100% max power. Again, still with the 0.080 line interval and Jarvis. This one only took 36 minutes to complete. It's a little bit wider than it is tall, but we can see at the very top of the feathers, I don't know if it's gonna show up here, but we can start to see that line separation a bit. So obviously we do need to step it down a little bit and get that finer detail, but even so, from a foot away, it's going to look pretty good. So with the wood going pretty well, wanted to try some other materials, and with these lower wattage lasers, craft paper and such comes into play. So this is some tag board kind of stuff. It's a little heavier duty, but it is definitely a paper. Went ahead and did the engrave. We bumped the speed up to 3,000 millimeters a minute and topped it out at 80% power. We did go with Jarvis on this one and went with a 0.070 line interval. We also did do the cut around the outside, and that was done at 400 millimeters a minute at 100% power and came out pretty well. This did take 26 minutes to do, and it is roughly 2.5 inches square. We're starting to lose where you may get the little line gaps in there, and it's looking pretty good. So we still need to compress it down, probably looking at 0.05 or 0.06. But again, when we do that, we're going to increase the time needed to do this. But the detail and the shading on there is really nice. I'm very impressed with this laser's capabilities. That lower power gives you that capability to get that fine detail at the sacrifice of some speed. So not only can we do engraving, but we can also do some cutting of lighter materials. So this is some heavier paper out of some red paper, just a simple ornament kind of thing. And as you can see, we got it cut out. I just have this backer here so it's easier to see what it is. And this only took about 3.5 minutes. I was running it at 300 millimeters a minute, 100% power to make sure we got through, because you don't want it to fail on those fine details. On just a square outline, it's a little easier to maybe trim it up afterwards, but didn't want to have to go back in with an X-Acto blade or something with this. But it came out really well. There is just a little bit of scorching around the edges, so you may need to play with your speed and your power there, and or just do a quick little wipe down on it. Otherwise, you may get a little bit of scorching that leaves some marks on your other material. But craft paper work with this is possible. Again, you're limited to that, a little over 5 inches square working area. But for small things like this, wanting to add some things to custom cards or whatnot, definitely doable. I wasn't sure what to expect from this one, but there is synthetic leathers. And so here is some stuff. This is not the thickest stuff. It's not like real heavy duty stuff, and it doesn't have the adhesive back. This has a fabric back to it, and it's fairly thin. But we were able to both engrave and cut this out with this laser. So the engraved settings were 5,000 millimeters a minute, 100% power, and we stuck with that 0.070 line interval, 0.070 millimeter line interval, and the cut was 350 millimeters a minute, 100% power. This did take almost 7 minutes to do, and it's slightly larger than a postage stamp, so definitely not that big. But definitely capable. I did source this material is from Great Carve, their synthetic leather without the adhesive back. Definitely some nice detail. It even got the stitch marks in there really well. So if you want to make some small leather items with this, you could definitely go up to that 4 or 5 inch size. Again, it's just going to be the time of the engraving to get it done. Now we tried cutting with the paper, but wanted to try some wood material. And when cutting, I also like to use some sort of backer board that's going to allow airflow. This one didn't come with it, but I do have this from another device. They're just kind of like a knife bed that raises the material up, lets some airflow underneath it. So that's going to be important when cutting. Otherwise, those smoke and vapors are going to kind of stick underneath the material. It's going to cause more staining and be a slightly higher fire risk. But I did put that down there and tried some 1/16 inch basswood and ran a test from 100 to 400 millimeters a minute and 60 to 100% power. 70 to 100% power. And this was our results on the front. We did get some cutting through down there at 100 millimeters a minute. And then on the back, you can see they're trying to squeak through on there, but they're just not cutting out on there. It did do it, but it was really scorching as it went to get through at that power. Now, it could just be this piece of wood, so you'd want to try this on a few others. But realistically, you might want to back this off to like a 32nd inch material. I did try some multiple passes. So the one on the right is 500 millimeters a minute and 3 passes. And it didn't quite get through. So there you see it was trying to get through, but didn't quite. The other one, I dropped it down to 250 millimeters a minute, 3 passes. It did cut through, but as you can kind of see on there, there's a fair amount of scorching. So cutting really, it's going to be possible with this, but it's not going to be its real forte. You're really going to be sticking to engraving with this machine or cutting lighter materials like that. Another fun item for engraving that works well with these diode lasers is slate coasters. So I had one of them that I had already prepped with some clear lacquer, let it dry for a couple days. which just gives it a higher contrast, gives it a little more brilliant look on the actual engraving. So I ran this one at 3,000 millimeters a minute, 85% power, and 0.060 line interval. Took about 15 minutes to do this hexagonal coaster. We're looking at about 2 inches by 2.5 inches of engraved space there. So not too bad, and did come out fairly well. We're not really seeing any lines on there as far as the line interval. So again, we don't have to take it all the way down to that 0.04 spot to get quality engravings. But I did notice on this one, the alignment was a little bit to the top, and that's one of the issues with this laser, is it's a little hard to see where it's framing because of that, that cone really kind of hides where it's at. So what I did was I created kind of a spoil board here out of MDF, and was able to lock the feet in by the corners. And so that will make sure the laser references this piece of material in the same spot every time. And then I went ahead and engraved a grid on there. And so I have the outer boundaries, I have the center point, I have a 4-inch circle, 4-inch square. Then I also have like a business card size, because those are some of the typical things we would be engraving on there. And they're all based off the center of this, so I can bring my material in. I've got this in Lightburn as kind of a template file, and then I can center things there. So it makes alignment a lot easier. So this is a white bathroom tile. It's 4¼ inch square. And so I prepped this by using some flat black spray paint, gave it 2 or 3 coats, nice light but even coats, let that cure overnight. And then came back and engraved it 4,000 millimeters a minute, max 85% power. This is a Jarvis dithering again, and a 0.060 line interval. And that came out very well. I was very impressed with the detail on this, and that's what you're gonna see with these. If you wanted to bring out even more detail in here, you could clear coat it, which is gonna kind of give it better contrast. I haven't done that yet, but it would make this pop even a bit more. So it came out very nice, looked really nice. However, this did take 1 hour and 25 minutes to complete. When wanting to do fine engravings, these lower wattage diodes with the finer spot size are gonna be your ticket, but it's gonna take time to travel that bigger area. So the final thing I wanted to test on this were the kind of the coated aluminum cards. And so I ran a few tests. As a matter of fact, I have front and back, both doing power and speed tests as well as line interval. Ended up bumping this all the way down to about that 0.040 spot size. This one was run at 2,200 millimeters a minute, 80% max power, 0.050 line interval, using a Stucky dithering. Completed in 24 minutes, kind of came out okay. I mean, the details there, like I say, it's just making sure that we're getting all that coating out so that the brilliant back aluminum comes through nice, and then but it doesn't leave any little black lines in there. So these types of materials where you don't have those natural fibers that might want to burn a little bit more, that's where you're definitely gonna need to bump down your line interval, increase your resolution to get quality images. So to wrap this up, let's just cover some of what I thought was good and what maybe could be areas of concern for you. First off, it's one of the cheapest lasers out there. I think they're retailing this at $129. However, if you're watching this right away at the launch, it's gonna be a $99 kind of early bird price. So if you're looking at this, wanna get in on a cheap laser, now's the time to do it. If you're watching this later, hopefully the price hasn't increased too much, but even at $130, it's one of the cheapest lasers that is out there. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want some great detail, getting one of these lower wattage lasers and maybe working in a small form factor, this is gonna be it for you. You're gonna get some high quality detail and it's gonna show in the quality of the engraving. You just have to make sure you're patient and be able to wait for the time. The other thing is this is a very quiet and smooth operation. There is a fan on the module, it does keep the air kind of moving over the module, keeps the thing cool, but there's not a lot of power to heat it up. The steppers are nice and smooth. Everything about it was fairly quiet. If I had my noise canceling headphones on, I couldn't hear it. My exhaust fan was louder than it. So as far as being something that's not gonna be intrusive from noise, this is definitely it. Some of the concerns you might want to think about as far as, is this for you? This is portable, but it's not enclosed. When you're using it in your shop, it's got the safety shield. You can build an enclosure, or you're definitely going to want to use those goggles. If you're thinking about taking a laser on the road, this probably isn't it unless you're going to build an enclosure around it. You definitely need to be mindful of other people that are going to be around it and any kind of flashback kind of laser light. It's just, you want to keep people safe. You don't want to have any liability there. So I don't know that this is the one you'd want to pick. If if you're looking at Sculpfun for a laser, check out their iCube laser. It's like a 5-watt diode laser, it has a nice enclosure. That's probably going to be the one that's going to allow you to do some engravings. That also is probably going to help you increase the speed that you can do some basic engravings such as dog tags and such, because it has a little bit bigger spot size and a little more power. It's going to get through those jobs faster. So on-site engraving, probably not for events and such, because you want to control it from a safety standpoint. It does have that safety shroud on the bottom of the module, but as I was running some tests, I did notice light coming up through the cooling fins. So if you don't have it in an enclosure, as I mentioned earlier, definitely going to want to wear those safety goggles. You want to protect your eyes. It's not worth losing your eyesight or having it go fuzzy over being lazy and not wearing goggles. So protect yourself, wear those goggles, and you'll be able to use this for a long time. And then finally, if you're looking to be able to do some cutting, this might not be it for you. It does beautiful with engraving, and it is some limited cutting capabilities. You know, some craft paper, that synthetic leather, very thin, soft woods. It's going to do okay on. But if you're wanting to cutting, I would definitely look at maybe stepping up to at least a 5, if not a 10-watt laser. Now it may be a bigger laser. You're not going to get it in this small form factor, but if you're looking at cutting, this might not be the laser for you. All right, so that's where I think I'm going to wrap up this review of the Sculpfun C1. This is a fun little portable laser. You can do some high quality engravings with it, so you might want to add it to your shop just for that. At $100, you can set this off to the side and let it do some engravings while you're working on other things. Just keep the safety in mind of making sure you can vent the fumes and being able to protect your eyes from that light. You know, as a new laser, it worked well. I really didn't run into any problems. Once I got it installed in Lightburn, everything worked. And so hopefully if you're looking at this one, you want to get started, use some of those speeds and power ratings I gave you to get started. Learn the Lightburn material test tool if you're using that to dial it in, and start having fun. It's something that isn't going to take up a lot of space. You can move around easily, and as long as you keep the safety things in mind, I think it'd be pretty decent for you. If you're interested in this laser, I will have links down below where you can purchase this. They are affiliate links, and that does give me a small commission, and also tells Sculpfun that you appreciated my information, and helps me to work with them on things in the future. So always appreciate you using those, but most importantly, wanted to give you some good information on what you were looking at and help you be a more informed consumer. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. Love the interaction with users, and I always try to get back to your questions and comments as quickly as I can. So appreciate that. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I do a lot of product reviews, tutorials, project videos on this, as well as do a Sunday night live stream with my friend David over the Clack Shack, where we answer your questions live. So if you've got one of these and have some questions, consider hopping on with us Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll do our best to answer and get you working on that. Once again, I want to thank Sculpfun for sending this out and allowing me to test this, give you some good information on it. Hopefully I was able to answer your questions, but again, if you have any, leave them down below. Otherwise, I'll be doing more in my shop and hope to see you back in the future. But most importantly, I hope you get out into your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.